Hello and welcome to Louise Singleton Creations. Today I've got a quick video for you showing you how I made this coaster stand from a coaster. I've shown you a coaster video before and it was to make a really good stand, but it was quite hard to do it. But this one is super easy, and also I'm going to be showing you this one. So same principle for both of them, but I'm going to be doing two. So that's what today's video is. And before I go, I just wanted to say thank you to all my new subscribers, because I'm nearly at 7,000 subscribers. How exciting is that? 7,000. I'm so pleased. So thank you all for subscribing and for all your support. The comments I've had recently, well, not just recently, all the comments I've had since I started this channel have been just so uplifting and heartwarming. And this is why I'm still here, because you support me and you fill me with confidence. So thank you and enjoy the video. The first job is to cut two pieces of acrylic. I've used 2mm thickness acrylic and I've cut it to the exact width of the coaster. In fact, actually it's a little bit bigger because I find that if it's nice and snug, it gets a lot more support and it works a lot better if you make it snug. So it's tiny bit bigger than the width of the coaster. And the piece that I'm having at the back, which will go behind the coasters, is slightly taller because that's where it's going to need all the strength, because the coasters will probably lean backwards rather than forwards, and the little bit at the front is just to keep them in place, really. So that's why the back piece is taller. And this acrylic is really easy to cut. You don't need a saw or anything like that. You just need to give it a good few firm strokes with the craft knife and then snap it. I've got my tabletop is actually loose and it's on top of some drawers, and what I like to do is wedge the plastic between the tabletop and the drawers and then snap it that way so that you get a nice clean break. I hope you can I hope you can picture what I'm describing. I can see it in my head, but maybe you can't see it in yours. Anyway, yeah, if you can wedge it between something before you snap it, it works really well. Excuse me. So now I'm using some UV resin just to hold it in place. It's just a tiny little drop at each corner. If you don't have UV resin, you don't need to use it. You could do your layer of resin, your normal resin, your epoxy resin, and let it almost cure, and then put your pieces of acrylic in, and this should hopefully stay in position. But I just prefer to do it this way. I find it's nice and easy. It keeps them in place, and I know they're not going to fall over when I walk away. And I'm just testing out for size with the coasters all together to make sure they're going to fit. And then I'm just going to do the same thing with the other piece. UV resin needs to be cured under a UV light, and it only takes about 2 minutes, and then it's ready for the next step. Right, so my second coaster stand is a quarter agate coaster, and I'm doing the same thing again, but just with one piece of acrylic for the back. And at the front, I'm going to be using two crystals which I've made from resin in a little mould. And I'm going to use those to stop the coasters falling forward. And the reason I did that is because if you look now, you can see it's a bit tighter. The space there is quite tight to fit them in, and it would have been quite tricky to fit another layer of the acrylic along the front. So I decided to use two crystals. All the need to be there for is to stop the coasters falling forward, so it does the trick just the same, and I think it looks quite nice in the end, so I was really pleased I had that idea. It was a little bit fiddly to get them into position and then put the UV resin in, but I got there in the end. And then I'm just repeating the process for the second crystal, and then it will be all ready to add the resin. Okay, so I've mixed up my 2-part epoxy resin. I'm using TotalCast, and I've mixed it for a good 3 minutes, and I'm just transferring it into some smaller jugs so that I can have better control when I'm pouring. You can see probably in the corner, you can see my mask. The problem with wearing my mask is I have to take my glasses off. And so I do everything kind of quite slowly and carefully because I can't see very well. And also, I had a little bit of a problem with this plexiglass or acrylic. I don't know what to call it really. It's all kind of the same thing. Acrylic, we'll call it. I had a little bit of a problem with it because the thing with the resin is it was kind of, you know how water has kind of that magnetic quality, the way it will be attracted to whatever is closest to it and you'll see it move. It's the same with the resin. I know it's not water, but it does the same thing. It attracts to the thing that's closest to it. And it kept, as I was drizzling it, it kept kind of attracting to the perspex acrylic plexiglass. Sorry. It kept attracting to it and leaving marks on the acrylic, and I had to keep wiping it off, and it was kind of doing my head in a little bit. So I was being really, really careful to pour the resin as far away from those pieces of acrylic as I possibly could so that I didn't have to keep wiping it off when it clung to it. And here I've added some of the same colour that I've used for my coasters. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. It's a refill for one of my favourite colours of Copic marker. I always loved that colour and it always ran out first, so I have a refill and I use it in the resin now and it just looks so beautiful. It's almost like a blood colour, but I do love it. And I'm just adding some glitter here to make it match the coasters. And I do like to go around all the edges with a coffee stirrer or a cocktail stick or anything you like really, just to make sure you haven't got any air bubbles trapped. And also don't forget to heat it with your heat gun to get any bubbles out as well. I did actually, I didn't forget, I just didn't do enough with my heat gun on this one I'm doing now. And unfortunately, it's got quite a lot of bubbles in it, but never mind, it still works and it still looks good. And this one's for a Christmas present anyway, so I don't need to worry too much because my mother-in-law won't notice the bubbles. So what I've just added is some glass stones, which I got from Hobbycraft, and I will see if they've still got them on the website, and I will put a link if I can find them. And they're really good, and they just have a really nice effect, so lovely texture. And I've added some more resin on the top, just in case there's any sharp bits, because I'm always a little paranoid about that, with it being glass, that there might be sharp bits. I'm sure they've been tumbled and smoothed down, but I like to just make sure. So I cover them with resin as much as I can. And that's it really, and then they'll be ready for demoulding the next day. Okay, it's the next day and time for demoulding. Not much I can say about the demoulding. It's just fun to watch it. It came out really easily, and I think it looks beautiful. Should I say that when I've made it myself? Well, I'm saying it. I think it looks beautiful, and yeah, they're good and strong. I did worry when I first tried this idea that maybe they would be weak at the point where the acrylic joined the resin, but it's not. They're really strong and sturdy, so I'm really happy with them. And now I'm just colouring in the edges with a Pilot pen. It's a silver Pilot marker. And I tried to do it on the other one, but discovered that the nib was too thick to get into all the little bits. So I decided to use some silver alcohol ink, which works brilliantly. I've always enjoyed using that for the edges. It takes more time, that's why I tend to use the marker because I'm lazy. But at least with the paintbrush and the ink, you can get into all the little bits and it comes out really beautiful. After applying silver edges or gold edges or whatever colour edges to my coasters, what I always do afterwards is I paint over it with some acrylic varnish, and it just protects those edges in case they get knocked or scratched or they need wiping. You don't want the alcohol wiping off, so I like to varnish over the top. I just didn't show that on here, but yeah, just acrylic varnish, polyurethane varnish, or that kind of thing works well. So here we have the finished coaster stands holding their coasters, standing proudly. What do you think? Do you think you could have a go? I think you should, because I think they're so easy and you don't need any fancy moulds, which is always a bonus. You can save your money. If you've watched my videos before, you'll know that I always leave product links in the description, but it's a bit different. I'm going to list the products, but I'm just going to give you one link which will take you to my Amazon storefront, because I've finally been added to the Amazon influencer program. I kept on trying and I've got there in the end. And now I have my own storefronts in the UK and one in America. So what I use will be available to view in my storefront all in one place. If I've missed anything, please let me know, because it's a lot to remember. I've got so much stuff and there should be something missing there. I'll get there at the end with it, but it's early days. So yeah, there'll be a link in the description to my storefront. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe and don't forget the notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. Bye for now.